Joining me now is Nigel Farage, former UK Brexit Party leader. Nigel, look, hurling unsubstantiated claims of racism on national TV at your royal in-laws and then getting your critics canceled. Is this not the ultimate privilege?
Oh, yes, it certainly is. And, Meghan married into the royal family. I think it was clear from day one what her intentions were. You see, it was very interesting. At that wedding 3 years ago, which Fox News covered so well, Oprah Winfrey was a guest at the wedding, despite the fact Meghan Markle had only met her once before. So I think their intentions were clear. To accuse the royal family...
Are you serious?
To accuse the Queen, effectively, who next year will have reigned for 70 years, but not just over the UK. She's the head of the Commonwealth. Over 50 countries, 2.3 billion people, the vast majority of whom are Asian or black.
Fact.
Our royal family has done a huge amount for people of colour all over the world. That was unsubstantiated. Much else of what she said was simply untrue. Her grandson, they wouldn't give poor little Archie,
wait for it,
a princedom. But a great-grandchild of the monarch does not get one of those titles. It was a false claim. Prince Harry said, "My father cut me off financially," but only when they'd left the UK, given up their royal duties, and gone to the West Coast. So the whole thing was a fabrication. It was from Meghan Markle, an acting performance to emote, to plead with people that she had victim status, and also, of course, to say that she suffered badly from mental health problems and had thought perhaps about taking her own life. All I can say is that young woman the other night didn't appear to me to have any mental health problems.
Fact.
But it is shocking that if you attack somebody who claims they've got a mental health problem, you're suddenly the villain. And I don't want to underplay the importance of mental health, but people using it as an excuse.
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
To make sure
the bottom line,
privacy.
the bottom line, Nigel, I mean to cut you, but you can't claim racism generally, not name anybody, and then just kind of go like this and say, "Thanks, Oprah, for the interview." You just can't. You cannot do that. But she did it, and she got away with it because she's in the elite club. They cover for each other, they protect one another, and then they sign lucrative deals, and then we're supposed to, cry all the way to the bank for them. It's just ridiculous, and it's demeaning to true discrimination and hardship of all these people suffering around the world and here in the United States. It doesn't sit well, I think, with a lot of folks who want them to have great lives and be happy. It doesn't sit well with folks, I don't think. But you're not going to be surprised, Nigel, that Hillary Clinton weighed in on the big Markle drama.
The British tabloids, their cruelty in going after Meghan.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Was just outrageous. This is 2021, and she wanted to live her life. It was heartbreaking to see the two of them sitting there having to describe
what is he doing?
how difficult it was to be accepted.
Nigel, considering how the British press treats you, should we expect to see you sitting down with Oprah sometime soon? You'll be given the same treatment, right?
Very good question.
How did you feel, Nigel, when they attacked you? How did you feel when they called you?
Oh, I've been called all the names under the sun, but then, I challenged the establishment. Meghan arrived in the UK, had a fairy tale wedding. The country took her to her heart. The press were gushing with praise about her. I'll tell you when the criticism started. It started when she and Harry started lecturing us on carbon emissions and climate change, yet flying around the world in private jet. And frankly, and you know what the British press are like, the printed press, everybody in public life gets a tough time in the UK. Nobody as tough as me, but everyone gets a tough time.
Are you serious?
And again, Hillary Clinton saying all she wanted to do was live her life. No, she married into the royal family. She married into what we call the firm. She married into a job, And
She knew what she
wanted
was
the-
getting into, Nigel, and she should have Googled how to curtsy, or at least learned that in acting school. All right, Nigel, thanks so much.
Now, Harry's book seemed to hit harder than the Netflix show. If anyone wants to watch Rita and I roll our eyes at 6 impossible hours, good YouTubes if you want to see them. But the book itself, now look, there's no doubt, he's obviously broken in half, and some people are broken by childhood trauma forever. But the idea that I'm now going to say what was said at my grandfather's funeral, I'm now going to say what was said, in the hours in and around the Queen's death, means
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
even if somehow King Charles wants all of his family there for the coronation, well, book number 2 will feature whatever conversations happen behind the scenes, won't they?
Yes, you cannot trust these two as far as you can throw them. If they come to the coronation, they will bleat it all out. And it just goes to show how wise our late Queen was when she would not be photographed with baby Lilibet. Do you remember that? She wouldn't have a group photograph taken because she knew.
Are you serious?
They would use it for commercial gain. The problem with King Charles here is he feels guilty. He feels guilty that as the boys were growing up, he was conducting a relationship with Camilla. He's frightened that unless he's nice to Harry, a load more stuff about that will come out, and that might damage him. But the one thing that must not happen is these two must not be in Westminster Abbey in the first week of May this year. And actually, I think what the King now needs to do, frankly, is just to cut them off. There is no compromise. There is no reason to appease these people whatsoever. Just look at their response to Clarkson. So it's time they were got rid of and banished forever, as the late Duke of Windsor was.
We know how people feel in the UK, but all of this was about trying to establish celebrity in the United States. It was really interesting to basically see the giant eye roll that came with this. Now, sure, there'll be plenty of cuddles in sort of woke Hollywood and all the rest of it, but generally, the embrace that could have been there for a former soldier, the Invictus Games, all the rest of it, ends up as what? You got paid how much? For what?
Well, imagine if you were Netflix. Netflix paid them vast amounts of money, and yet he kept the really unpleasant stuff for the book. So I bet Netflix are not too happy about this. Yeah, you're...
Are you serious?
Right, even in America, people are getting bored. So many of the things that he's whinging about are just little tiny molehills that he is trying to make into mountains. It's all about grievance. It's all about victimhood. The truth is, this young man was born into the most astonishing privilege. He lives the life, sort of billionaire lifestyle on the West Coast. Yes, he's had some tough things happen in his life. You name me another person that
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
hasn't had tough things happen in their life. And I think even America is starting to get bored with these two. Thank goodness.
Nigel, you look like you've spent time in Australia over winter. I don't know how you look better in a London winter, but you do for the better
Stop it.
of it, or the lighting's amazing. Whatever it is, don't change a damn thing. Thank you for sticking around, and we'll see you again all year here on Paul Murray Live.
Thank you.
What is your take on that?
My take on that is, first and foremost, I have realized, as I said with the race issue, that a lot of the times it's not Black Americans behind it. It's not LGB behind this trans agenda. I've spoken to tons of people that are on the left, lesbian, gays, and they are uncomfortable.
Okay.
With what they don't even understand why they're being forced to pretend to defend this. I mean, LGB really has nothing to do with T.
Right.
And they've been able to amass a lot of power, push through policies. California just proposed a bill that
Are you serious?
boys and girls sections, that would make boys and girls sections in retail stores and online stores illegal, and that people that have signs that say boys section, girls section will get fined $1,000, right? You can't tell me that gays and lesbians got together and were like, this is just unbelievable. So there's something political that's pushing this, and they're hiding behind the LGB people to try to push that through, which is interesting and it's super alarming. But
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
But in regards to children identifying, which is definitely happening, they're being encouraged in the school system. So again, there's something coming down the political pipeline that's encouraging them to see. And then you have these woke parents who are like, well, this is just who my child is. And what I always say is that if you show me a trans child, it's like showing me a vegan dog. You know who's making the decisions.
Right.
It's just like, my dog's a vegan. No, your dog's not. You know what I mean? My child's trans. No, your child's not. You know, you are, putting this lifestyle upon the child because you just don't think. I grew up. I've been a kid. You don't think like that when you're a kid. You don't think in terms of sexual identification, gender identification. You hardly even know what the stuff even means. Fact. You just kind of want to run around a playground and have some fun. I was the ultimate tomboy when I was, I would probably say from 6 to 10. I was just like, I just wanted to hang out with the boys.
Stop it.
Wanted to wear baggy clothes. And thank goodness that I grew up in the 90s because my mother wasn't like, well, you're Michael. You're obviously Michael. You know what I mean? They were just like, you're Candace going through a tomboy phase. And then, when I got older, suddenly I thought those boys I was running around the playground with were attractive. So these kids are not even being allowed to grow up and their parents are pigeonholing them into these decisions, which if you grow up and, allow that to happen, this is going to end up with depression, suicide. The rates are staggering for transgender.
That doesn't make sense.
Individuals who actually transition and commit suicide thereafter. There's a lot of transitioning regret, and it's because they don't have parents parenting, and that's sad.
Yeah. To your point about this not being an LGB thing, but
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
T thing, when you look at the numbers, the L lesbians are being basically erased in the younger generations as we see the trans numbers go up. And it's also...
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
It's interesting you say as a tomboy, if you were a tomboy now with some of the modern parents, they'd say you were trans. And that's why it's this irony where actually the left has made gender a more rigid
Are you serious?
thing because now it's actually, if you're a girl, you're not allowed to behave like a boy because if you do, now you become a boy.
Right.
So for a long time, it seemed like they were saying, well, just because let's open up, let's be more open-minded.
Wait for it.
And if you're a girl, doesn't mean you have to play with dolls. You can play with trucks too. I'm on board for that. Mm-hmm. But now they've kind of contradicted themselves, and they said, well, come to think of it, if you're a girl playing with the trucks, maybe you're actually a boy. So
right, yeah, they've made it more rigid, and that's what I say in terms of race too. These things that they focus on, they say that they're trying to make things better. They always worsen them. That it wasn't an issue for girls to play with guys. If I was in the toy store and saw a boy's sign and a girl's sign, I don't even know if I was reading it at the time that I was going to Toys R Us, which is now extinct. But secondly, if I wanted to go into the boys' aisle and grab something, I would have just